Welcome back to the show. You're watching Veterans Corner. We're live right now on Facebook and people are commenting, so we really appreciate that. On the show today, we have musician Tim Steinrich. Now, Tim was a media member of ours. He was a reporter up in Whistler, BC for the 225 Invictus Games, and he was also a transport driver. So he was taking the teams around. So, Tim, tell us about your experience from day one all the way to the end, and obviously tell us some highlights in between.
Sure, yeah. So right out of vet stock, the success of that, jumped right into the Invictus Games. Was working with a Spanish broadcaster that does they do most of the Olympic events, and
ISB
so
TV, yeah, yeah.
ISB TV, correct. And so was working with them in a space of logistics. I have my 12 passenger van, so I was transporting production people, as a matter of fact, around all the different venues, including a number of trips up to Whistler, etc. And that was really amazing to see the inside of the production of this type of event. And then the thing is, I was wearing two passes. Not only did I have logistics for ISB, but I also had a media pass, which you were instrumental in getting for me. So when I had the time, then I would sit and I would actually interview veterans, the actual participants of Invictus Games, and some of the athletes. And that was in different things like wheelchair basketball, rugby, skeleton on the mountain, downhill skiing, cross country skiing, just so many different events. And so sitting with these folks for just a few minutes, getting them to introduce themselves, tell the story of their service, and tell them what inspired them to be there, and really, and how they're being transformed by this experience of being in the games.
Well, just to
Wow.
add to that, you can watch those interviews right now live on our Facebook pages. We have posted them, and then we also turning all of our footage into accessibility footage. And I think the Disability Channel, I'm not certain, but I'm almost certain that we are the only platform involved in the Invictus Games where all of our footage is accessibility. That's actually why we were brought into the games, right? Because we have an accessibility element in production that a lot of people don't know because it's still relatively new. Let me ask you this, Tim. So when you were doing the transporting, did you have different teams at the same time on your bus or all one team?
So I wasn't really transporting teams. I was strictly working with production.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So it was strictly production, and then I would arrive, and then of course, then I'd be in the middle of all of these different teams and athletes. But most of the athletes were transported around on very large, like Prevost buses. That's how they mostly got around. Um, what I found very interesting is that Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, was really on hand for most of. Say that again?
No, I was going to say, so when you were going from location to location, were you on your own or there was people with you?
Oh, I had 11 people stuffed into my van wherever we went.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about the game. So what was it like experiencing just being a fly on the wall and watching all those great athletes and heroes just go full blast, on the court or whatever?
Oh, very, very, very inspiring. Very inspiring. I know one of the things that sticks out to me is the swimming event. People with athletes with maybe one limb and still swimming the entire length of the pool, and just to get across the line, just I was brought to tears so many times, Jay. I
I
was
can't
brought to
imagine.
tears.
I
They
can't imagine.
the power of the human spirit was just so inspiring.
So let me ask you this. What were the people that were coming from warm countries that never experienced snow and they were in a winter sport? What was their face reaction? Like, what were they doing?
Well, Whistler was not very warm. It was minus 15 on some days, and so yeah, you could see the faces of like for instance some of the ones from Latin American countries, right? Some of the participants, the athletes from those countries, like they were a little bit they were staying near the heater. Put it that way. They were in their warming tent as much as they could be.
What an experience it must have been. And tell us a little bit about the entertainment now, because I don't know if you were really involved around that, but can you tell us about any of the highlights regarding celebrities or Prince Harry? Did you see him at all or?
Yeah, so I was just mentioning that earlier. I Prince Harry was event at most of the events. He was there. Justin Trudeau was at some of the events, but Harry was pretty well at every event. And the reason that I knew that he was going to be there is on the way up there, there would be a gauntlet of security and RCMP, and I mean, it was just, you knew when he was coming. You knew when he was
Wow.
coming. And we'd get a call on the radio, and so there, it was, but he was so down to earth. He just met in person with everybody. He was very accessible, which I thought was amazing. I have to say, like the opening ceremonies, very powerful. I wasn't able to attend the entire thing in person. I did see the rest of it online. It was online on TSN, but it was very, very emotional. And then I was there in person at the closing ceremonies with there was Jelly Roll, and there was um, the what's the Canadian band?
Oh, I forget too. Yeah, I forget. It
If I
escapes me.
had $1 million, those guys.
Bare naked ladies. Bare
Bare
naked ladies.
naked ladies.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so the entertainment, Katy Perry, obviously, Chris Martin from Coldplay. The
Yeah.
so actually that was one performance that really stuck out to me at the opening ceremonies when he performed the song Invictus that he had actually written for Harry and what Harry was doing.
Very nice.
Prince Harry was doing. So that was very powerful. So yeah, star-studded event, amazing production. Again, my role was really inside of production
How do
mostly.
you think? BC embraced it? Give me your overview on what it's done for British Columbia and how they loved it, or how much they got involved. Like, give me your perspective on BC.
Oh, I think it was a huge honor for BC and for Vancouver and for Whistler to host this event. The dignitaries from as far as the mayor and the
Yeah,
premier were there, and they were always speaking and speaking so highly about what was going on. So I think it was a real big boost, not only for the city and for Whistler, but it was also a big boost for the province as far as making a mark of that we're working. We've had the Olympics here. This is something that is like the Olympics, but has almost a deeper sense of heart because of the breakthrough that these athletes are having, overcoming some of the challenges that they're stuck with after being in combat and having that
absolutely.
experience, so that just watching the interaction between the different athletes from different countries, and just watching the healing that was taking place. I guess that's the thing that I saw the most, that's most important, was the healing that was taking place. And I think that everybody, all the way down from the athlete, or all the way from the athletes, and all the way down to us in production, we felt that in a big way, and we were very inspired by it.
That's very well said, Tim. That's very well said. Because we're watching our heroes, and I mean, to put your life on a line for your country and for strangers and for people you'll never meet, like amazing. Like, who does that? Our heroes do that, right? Heroes around the
Yes.
world, not just Canadian veterans, heroes from around the world. So, Tim, I really thank you for being on the show today. This was so inspiring, and thank you for sharing your experience at the fundraiser and doing stepping up for the channel and being a reporter and getting great footage, great interviews. Again, if people are watching, you can watch all the interviews on our Facebook page. We spread them to our SiriusXM show, your TV, Bell, everywhere. So Rogers, so everywhere. So we really want to thank you, Tim. If people want to find out more information about either Big Records or the Mighty One, where can they go, Tim?
You can find everything at not only bigrecords.world. That's where you can find out about Big Records and the Big Records artists, and everything that you want to find out about me, which I've got a lot of things going on, timsteinruck.com.
That's great, Tim. Thanks so much. What we're going to do, we're going to come back. I'm going to come back and wrap the show. I got a couple of updates. I want to thank some people. So again, you're watching Veterans Corner. We're live on Facebook, so thank you for commenting. Tim, thanks again. We'll have you back soon. Stay tuned. We'll be right back to wrap the show.